Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. Dabo Swinney, Clemson, wrapping up fall camp, starting to turn their attention to that week one opener against LSU. And we've had a lot of really intriguing storylines emerge for Clemson during fall camp. I figured now would be a really good time to take a look back at the last 3 to 4 weeks of fall camp, talk about the biggest winners of fall camp. The names that generated the most amount of buzz, the guys that put a stamp on what they're going to mean to this football team in the 2025 year. Now, not only are we going to talk about that, want to get into a little bit of a conversation in terms of what we're hearing from LSU during fall camp, what we expect in that week one matchup against LSU. We got a lot to talk about. Fired up to get into it. Before we do, and as always, the Clemson fans, appreciate you guys. And it's been so fun talking this football team really all off season long. I think the minute that 2024 year wrapped up and you started hearing about all the players that were returning for Clemson to one more year, you kind of knew this year had the opportunity to be special. I think we all know that this Clemson team is capable of a lot of dangerous things in the 2025 year. Been a blast. The amount of support that y'all have shown the boys has been amazing. Appreciate you guys. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. But before we get all nitty gritty, I do want to throw out one thing. Many of y'all know I'm a Michigan fan, right? This Clemson football team going into 2025 feels very similar to the Michigan team going into 2023, the year Michigan won a national championship. And the reason I say that is I think Clemson knew that they would have the opportunity to be great in 2025, very similar to how that Michigan team felt. And a lot of guys that very well could have gone to the NFL draft. I'm talking about Cade Klubnik. I'm talking about a guy like Antonio Williams or Blake Miller. A lot of guys that knew they could have gone and heard their names called in the NFL draft. They decided to come back to Clemson for one more year. Can they pay it all out in 2025? We know they have the ability to do so. Without further ado, want to get into some of the biggest fall camp winners, and I want to start with Adam Randall. Now, what intrigues me the most about Adam Randall is if you were to make a list, the Clemson fans that follow this football team really damn closely said, hey, what is the one name that you want to hear have a really good fall camp? The name probably would have been Adam Randall. Like, we didn't need to hear anything about TJ Parker. We didn't need to hear anything about Antonio Williams. We know those guys are gamers going into 2025. The biggest question mark on this football team was the running back room. And it sounds like Adam Randall had one of the best fall camps of any player on Clemson over the last couple of weeks. That is a monster storyline. Now, why is it so important and why are we so excited about Adam Randall? Let's talk about why it's important first. Going back to that conversation of how do we get over the hump? How do we win a national championship? To me, one of the things that really let Clemson down in 2024 was the lack of ability to run the football consistently against the best teams in the country. Like, I don't think I'll just say this. I don't really give a darn if Clemson can run the football against Duke. We need to run the football against Georgia. We need to run the football against Texas. And you go back to 2024 and say against Georgia in that week one opener, 2 yards per carry, 46 total rushing yards. You can go to that college football playoff game against Texas, 3.2 yards per carry, 76 rushing yards. And I believe half of those came from one run of Adam Randall. Even in the SMU game, 2.2 yards per carry, 64 total rushing yards. When we saw Clemson play the best front sevens that they had on their schedule, the running game stagnated. And I'm not getting up here and saying that Clemson is going to be this run-heavy offense that needs the run game to be successful. But I do think when you want to win a national championship and you want to consistently play at a high level against the best teams in the country, having the ability to lean on your run game at least just a little bit is massive. Can Clemson do that in 2025? To me, it started with, hey, who's in your running back room? And the thing that excites me the most about Adam Randall is we all knew that he gave Clemson a little bit more explosiveness than a guy like Phil Maffa did last year. And that ain't a shot at Phil Maffa. That's just not the type of running back that Phil Maffa was. Now, Adam Randall, he's an 11-second guy in the 100-meter dash. He can run away from defensive backs when he gets to the second level, something that Phil Maffa really couldn't do. The question mark for me about Adam Randall was, number one, can he stay healthy? And that's been the biggest storyline for me throughout spring practice, throughout fall camp. Adam Randall going from wide receiver where he struggled to stay healthy, then moving to the running back position. I was like, hey, is he going to stay healthy all offseason long? This is the first offseason that we've seen Adam Randall stay consistently healthy. That was number one. Then number two, like, you're hearing all the right things from this kid in terms of pass protection. You're hearing all the right things about what he can do in short yardage situations. Those were the question marks that we had for Adam Randall. It sounds like he has emphatically won that running back one job going into that LSU matchup. To me, that is a huge, huge storyline, is Clemson's ability to run the football. Now, the second part of that equation is the offensive line. And I think what excites me the most about this Clemson offensive line is we know it's going to be good, right? I thought Matt Luke did a great job with this unit last year. In 2023, Clemson was average, and that might be a little bit generous in terms of how their offensive line play was. Going into 2024, they were good. Like, it was a very, very solid unit. Going into 2025, can you be great? And again, can you be great against the best front sevens on your schedule? Because you go back in 2024 and say, look at those games where they play college football playoff teams. Georgia gave up 2 sacks and 6 TFLs. Against SMU, 3 sacks and 8 tackles for loss. Against Texas, 3 sacks, 7 TFLs. Can we lean on this offensive line to be good against the best front sevens on our schedule? Now, to me, that conversation starts with, hey, what's the best version of this offensive line? And I want to be very careful with how I approach this conversation, because this is not a shot at Walker Parks. Walker Parks has been a dang good player for Clemson over the last couple of years, has dealt with a lot of injuries, but I'm looking at Elijah Thurman. I'm looking at Colin Sadler coming back from injury. I'm looking at a guy like Harris Sewell and say, those are the players that might elevate this offensive line in 2025. It's nice to know you have a guy out like Walker Parks that you can plug in at a lot of different spots on this offensive line and get solid play. We're looking for guys that can elevate this unit. We've heard a lot of good things about Elijah Thurman. We know Colin Sadler is back healthy. What's the best 5 going to look like? What is the combination of 5 offensive linemen that can elevate this unit going into 2025? And it's one of the things I love most about Clemson, because I think they got a money offensive line coach, and I think they got a lot of depth and a lot of talent. Can we take the step on the offensive line? To me, it has a lot to do with some of the young cats. You look at a guy like Elijah Thurman, you look at a guy like Harris Sewell and say, can they elevate this offensive line in the 2025 year? I know the staff loves Elijah Thurman. Like, they wouldn't have started him as a true freshman on the road at left tackle if they didn't. Really excited about him and what he can provide to Clemson's offensive line. Because, look, I know what Kate is. I know what these pass catchers are. This passing attack is going to be elite. Can we have a run game to rely on a little bit? Can we hold up in pass protection against the best defensive lines on our schedule? That is how this offense goes from good to great in 2025. We're hearing all the right things in fall camp. Going to the defensive side of the football real quick, and this is when I think the conversation gets really, really interesting. I'm looking at this defensive line and say, hey, who are the biggest winners? To me, it's DeMonte Capehart and Vic Burley, because they're staying healthy. The thing that I love most about Clemson's defensive line is, look, I know TJ Parker and Peter Woods, they get a lot of the national media attention. This is a freaking deep defensive line. That stuff matters when you want to be national championship caliber. Like, go look at Ohio State last year, Michigan, or the Georgia teams. Go look at the teams. Go look at the Clemson teams that won national championships, and go look at the laundry list of NFL talent they had on the defensive line. And it wasn't just the first teamers. It was the second and two. There was the second and third deep guys too. And probably the best way to say it. It was some of the rotational pieces as well. That's what I love most about Clemson. Like, DeMonte Capehart, hey, can we finally have this kid reach his ceiling? When he has been healthy consistently, we've seen really good play. Just hasn't happened all that much. What about Stephylin Green going into year 3? Like, quietly, he's kind of in this. Stephylin Green's in a tough situation because he has Peter Woods, who's like the top 10 NFL draft pick. Then he has like a true freshman in Amari Adams, who is garnering a lot of fan excitement. People just like forget about Stephylon Green and how solid he was last year. That's another name we love. The other name here is probably Jaheim Lawson. And I'm looking at Jaheim Lawson and say, hey, can he be that pass rush specialist for Clemson on the opposite side of TJ Parker? We know TJ Parker can get after the quarterback. We love what we're hearing about Will Helt and the step that he has taken. Can Jaheim Lawson be that third edge defender who can really be productive for Clemson in the pass rush, especially as all the attention goes to Peter Woods, goes to TJ Parker? When Dabo Swinney got up in front of the media and said, I view Jaheim Lawson as a one, as a guy that starts. Like, I put him in the same category as TJ Parker and Will Helt. That stood out to me. You know, we've seen the flashes from him. It sounds like he's taking that step going into fall camp. Kind of brings us to the question mark about look ahead to LSU, and this is where the conversation starts. We've noted that LSU has a brand new offensive line. Go read the LSU fall camp notes that we just got from yesterday. There's a chance that LSU is starting a true freshman at right tackle in this football game. Now, to put that in perspective, that's a true freshman that's going to be going on the road to Clemson, and that's going to be trying to block a guy like TJ Parker. I'm not sure if it's going to happen. And I think Carius Kern, the true freshman that might start, is a really good football player. That's how this Clemson football team wins. Like, can you dominate along the line of scrimmage? Not just win, can you dominate? I think there's a chance, because I've heard, what you're hearing out of LSU is that like the defensive line is kind of whooping up on the offensive line. And this is not me getting up here and saying LSU's offensive line going to be back, 'cause I think they're going to be good. How good are they going to be early with all the new faces that they have to break in? That's the opportunity for Clemson to really find their edge in this football game. Now, the second conversation is what we do with all the difference makers on the outside for LSU. They have legitimate speed. That might be the fastest offense and wide receiver room that we see in the country. We're going to be ushering in some new safeties. We've heard good things about Ricardo Jones. We've heard good things about Ronan Hannafin. I think it's crucial that Khalil Barnes gets back healthy for this football game. We got to make sure we got our safeties that are ready to not give up the explosive plays. If Clemson can limit the explosive plays and get after Garrett Nussmeier up front, that's the recipe here to win in this football game and kind of getting this national championship run off to a good start. We'll close it out there, kind of putting the finishing touches on Clemson during fall camp. We got a lot of storylines to monitor up until this football game. Appreciate y'all. If you guys do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. We'll talk to y'all later. Peace.